sun is racing.
Welcome, race fans, to another episode of the Rubbin' is Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR Show. We have all your action for the Toyota SaveMart 350. This week, we turn both right and left as we go road course racing in wine country. Stages will be at laps 25, lap 50, then we'll go the final 60 laps all the way to the finish. The race winner here has come from the top 10 69% of the time, and the top 5 just over 50% of the time. But with only 110 laps this week, the premium will be on place differential rather than dominators. The weather this week should be sunny and temperatures in the low 80s when we go racing at 3 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1. As you guys can see, we are man down this week as Liehr was feeling a little bit under the weather. And since this is race morning, I'm going to try to make this short and sweet. I've got all of Liehr's picks, and I'm going to try to do a good job giving them to you. Once again this season, we're faced with dealing with the Big Three, and the Big Three are the clear-cut favorites this week, just as each week, and each of them has a win here in the last 5 Sonoma races. Rowdy and Truex also have terrible finishes here in the last 5, so Harvick looks to be the safest and most consistent of the Big Three, and he starts 6th. He also led the pack of the Stewart-Haas cars that were all fast and running long runs during happy hour. Truex will start 2nd and looks fast, and Rowdy starts 9th, which gives you great place differential as well. But all these guys' salaries are north of $10,700, which means you'll be rostering some really sketchy drivers to get multiples of these guys into your lineup. It will also force you to miss out on the other sexy place differential plays that Liehr and I are both on this week. But without further ado, it's burning rubber time. Liehr wanted me to pick Kurt Busch for his burning rubber, and I think personally it's a great play. In his last 7 races here, his lowest finish is 12th, and he has 4 top 5s and a win during that stretch. And for $8,600, you get those stats and a guy starting 23rd. Oh, by the way, he was also 2nd in 10-lap averages in happy hour, a part of that Stewart-Haas train that was dominating final practice. My burning rubber pick is going to be his teammate, Clint Bowyer, who is starting 19th, who has the most top 5s and most top 10s of any active driver at Sonoma. He was also the 3rd fastest in happy hours, 10-lap averages, another part of that Stewart-Haas domination that we saw out of happy hour. Look, guys, the Stewart-Haas cars were so fast and they were so happy with them that they all made them go out and practice long runs. All of them had really good long run speed, which is something we didn't see from most everyone else in the field. I think I'm leaning to the Stewart-Haas cars instead of trying to get cute. There are ways to get a Stewart-Haas stack this week that I think might benefit you. But then again, it might be the popular thing to do, and you may not want to do that. I think that if we're being honest, we also need to talk about their teammate Almirola starting 24th, or their not teammate, the member of JGR, Hamlin, starting 21st. Those guys look to be great sources of place differential, and Hamlin has a really good track history here as well. And guys, I still haven't talked about Kyle Larson, who's sitting on the pole for the 2nd straight year here. Now, granted, last year he went backwards, so in my opinion, he's probably a good driver to fade. But then again, that means you're going to get super low ownership on the guy sitting on the pole. Now, once again, that traditionally doesn't matter here for fantasy purposes unless the guy goes basically 1-to-1 and leads some laps, which forces him, points-wise, to be on the same footing as all the guys that are gaining place differential. But remember, there's not a whole lot of laps here for the leader to get those points. All right, kids, I flew through the burning rubber segment. Hopefully you got the information you wanted there. There's some other great drivers that you might be interested in. A Penske build looks really interesting in my opinion, as Logano has great track history here. You also have Blaney, who has interesting track history here, if we're being honest. And Kez, I like all of those guys' plays. I just don't have them as being as good of plays as the other guys that I've mentioned so far. Now on to value. Liehr wanted me to tell you guys that about Chris Buescher. He's only raced here twice, but in his last race, he went 19th to 9th. So he looks to be a great source of place differential. He's also value priced at $6,100 this week. And for all the guys that are in that 6K range, he's probably my favorite play. My value play this week was going to be Chris Buescher as well. So that may make him super high owned this week. Then again, I've seen several others across the industry not actually talking about Buescher, so good luck guessing on whether or not Buescher's going to be highly owned or not. I think it's a smart play. If I had to recommend another value play for everyone, I think I would personally go with Casey Kane at 6,600. Even though they fired his crew chief and have a new one, Kane is one of the better rated drivers at Sonoma. He's also starting 26th, and in his last 9 races at Sonoma, he's finished better than that every time, even when he had a quote-unquote poor finish here. Now, granted, that was in Hendrick equipment for most of that run, but in a week with it's tight with salary, there are definitely worse drivers for you to roster when searching for value this week, and one of them I'm going to talk about coming up here shortly in my Going to the Garage segment. But before we get there, the other interesting value plays in my opinion include Michael McDowell starting 22nd, David Reagan starting 28th, Ty Dillon, as we know, is going to be highly touted and over-owned starting 31st. I would fade Trevor Bayne like the plague starting 13th. Cole Witt starting 32nd is interesting. Justin Mart starting 33rd as a source of value. But once again, guys, the lower we get, the more risky. Somehow, though, Matt DiBenedetto is priced all the way down at 5K as in starting 30th. I think that might make a creative play, especially if you're trying to go some studs and duds lineups. Then you have the guys that don't usually run on the circuit. Parker Kligerman, Chris Cook, Tommy DeRisi, and then the guys that partially race on the circuit, Greg Alding and Cody Ware. These guys are fine if you're looking for a super source of value, but they have a higher propensity to actually finish the race on a road course. I think that they're fine plays if you're looking for those values. Just know that you're increasing your risk when you play guys that are in that echelon of driver. If you had the money, I would feel way more comfortable getting up to a DiBenedetto or Buescher like we've talked about. So with that said, guys, I think it's a good time to transition to the Going to the Garage. Some of the guys you don't want this week. And Liehr's wanted me to take the softball of softballs for Going to the Garage and tell you not to play Jamie Mack starting 4th. Jamie Mack has a great track history here and has actually started coming out of his tailspin. The problem with J-Mac this week is that I don't think he has anywhere to go but backwards. I don't like the potential points he can score, and I think it's an easy fade. I think it's just one that you don't really have to worry about this week. Now, for my Go to the Garage play, I'm going to give you guys somewhat a little bit more risky. And I'm going to send one of my favorite drivers to the garage. I'm sending Bubba Wallace, guys. And look, I love me some Bubba Wallace, and he's super cheap at $6,500. And he starts 35th, which normally would mean nothing but fantasy goodness. And I would be telling you to play him and play him a lot. But Bubba was a dumpster fire on wheels. That's the best way to describe what we saw out of him driving that car here at Sonoma, trying to get around this road course. It is his first time in a Cup car here, and it's really showing on the track. Could he actually end up on the winning lineup? Maybe, but that would require him to get around the track without driving off into the grass and wrecking the car, something he hasn't been able to do in either practice 1, practice 2, or in qualifying. He's having major issues controlling the car. He's having major issues even picking lines, knowing which ways to enter the turns. I think you're better off fading Bubba Wallace this week, and I think his 6,500 that's starting 35th is a trap, to be honest. And as Admiral Akbar says, it's a trap. So guys, in my humble opinion, I'm going to be fading Bubba Wallace this week, even though I like him. Like I said, he could end up on the winning lineup. Stranger things have happened. But from what I've seen out of practice 1, practice 2, and qualifying, there's just no chance I'm rostering Bubba Wallace this week. Well, guys, I told you I was going to keep it short and sweet. I did keep it short and sweet. Good luck to everyone this week. Liehr will be back next week so you can hear somebody else, aside from me, give you break down the race. So until then, remember to like, share, subscribe. Good luck, kids. Let's all win some money this week, and have a great one. Bye, you guys.